Okay, with the Zelda Marathon now done and over with, I can start moving on to other stuff, and I think I'm a little overdue with this one. A little over 2 months ago, the third installment of the Project 06 fan game was released. I've been following this project for a while, and it's nice to see that it's still going strong. But I think we need to take a quick history lesson for the one or two new Sonic fans that are watching this video, or for the one or two people that might not know what a Project 06 is.
Back in 2006, the Sonic the Hedgehog series was strung through the ringer with the release of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It was a game plagued by development mishaps, executive interferences, a strict release window, and a whole bunch of other shit I'll save for the eventual Sonic 06 video 3 years from now. The game isn't good to get to the point. No sense of weight to any of their playable characters, odd design choices, and a large lack of polish all culminated into one of the most infamous Sonic games of all time that everyone wants to move on from, and I don't blame them. But I couldn't help myself from always thinking what this game could have been if it got the development cycle it deserved. It had the potential to become one of the best games in the series, but it's a shame that may never come to fruition.
Isn't Foresight a motherfucker?
Fast forward to 2017, and one fan developer, Chaos X, began work on a project that aimed to remake Sonic 06 in the Unity engine for the PC. And what started as a simple way of fixing the smaller issues that make the game better has transformed into a love letter to fans of the franchise and a perfect realization of what could have been.
As of recording this video, we are currently on the Silver release, which was released on April 19th, 2023. So if we get another update or another build that gets released that addresses some of the things I'm going to be talking about today, I have no problem making another video updating my thoughts. But I'm going to be reviewing the game as is, so let's not waste any time and let's talk about something other than Zelda for a change. This is the Silver release of Project 06.
All the Sonic, Shadow, and Silver's levels are available to check out for this demo. You don't have any boss fights or the story mode, the hard missions, end of the world, side quests, multiplayer, and any of the DLC that was released. The important stuff is here and accounted for. All of the main characters and their amigos are here as well. Each playable character and level come jam-packed with changes, tweaks, and modifications to make the experience much more enjoyable. Everyone actually reacts to the terrain they're running around on, all characters have gotten a slight boost to their base running speed, and the control feels great. The control in the original was extremely precise, so even the smallest movements on the control stick would send your character hurtling off into another direction only to run to the nearest crosswalk during rush hour. But now things feel around SA1 levels of control. Every character has weight and momentum to them, and I know Sonic fans are sick of hearing the M word, but there's a reason why it's so important. Characters go slower going up a slope and speed up going down a slope, and that's how it should be. Thanks to the new physics, you can actually make use of the ramps and slopes in the level design, and it all flows together really well. I will say I think character speed overall is still a bit too slow, but a small adjustment could help, I think. With how well you're able to control these characters, I found myself not being bombarded by enemies like in the retail version of the game, either because my character wasn't properly equipped for the job, or their defenses just never worked. Everything is just more stable than last time. Character abilities are mapped to different buttons now, so I'm not in fear for my soul when I go to do the lightspeed dash, only to drop like a blue spiny brick. Honestly, they could have left the changes there and I would have been satisfied, but they just kept going. Mainly for the characters, we'll get into level design later. Sonic feels closer to a mix of his SA1 and SA2 counterparts with the spammable spin dash that feels oh so intoxicating, and his bound attack carries some momentum now. I love using it in combination with the faster homing attack to chain combos together on enemies. Tails still has his doubling ring bombs, but thanks to a new targeting reticle, they're easier to use. But I don't really use them much anymore thanks to the addition of his tail swipe from Sonic Adventure 1. You can even use it in the air to bounce off enemies or obstacles. I wouldn't call Knuckles the MVP of the fixed amigo characters, but with a combo punch that actually connects and has impact, no longer getting stuck on walls, a faster drill dive attack like in Sonic Adventure 2, and even the maximum heat Knuckles attack from Sonic Adventure 1, I no longer cry in agony upon seeing Knuckles, and that feels nice to say. No real big changes were made to Sonic when he carries Elise around during Dusty Desert and Tropical Jungle, but the improved physics are enough for those. You also don't drop like a bowling ball over the sand, so good thing someone was actually using their head this time. The Mach Speed sections, the Super Speed stages, have seen massive improvements. You're no longer locked into a direction when jumping, the light speed dash is much easier to pull off without careening into a wall, and you could even slow Sonic down by hitting the circle or the B button. If you collide into a wall, you won't breakdance to your death, but rather Sonic will stagger a bit before moving on. He'll still breakdance when he runs into something at high speeds, but I also didn't find myself running into as much stuff in these sections. I think Radical Train is still probably the worst one, just because of that tight-ass turn at the beginning. The Lightspeed Dash and the dash panels can only help you so much. Throughout Sonic stages, you can also find the colored gems heading around for Sonic to collect and utilize. Since there's actual programming here, the gems now utilize the meter and work off of a maturity system. The more enemies you defeat, the more powerful your abilities will be. I found my most used ones to be the blue gem for speed, the purple gem for up to 3 extra jumps, and the yellow gem for an electric shield. The other gems either felt too situational like the tornado spin or slowing down time with the red gem, or just plain suck like the white gem. Each Hedgehog's campaign also has a reward that you can unlock when you get all S ranks on each stage, and for Sonic, you can find the re-implemented Rainbow Gem that lets you transform into Super Sonic. And with a full maturity meter, you can do the Super Dash, which is awesome for taking shortcuts. I'm jumping the gun a bit here. I do like in Crisis City, they re-implemented these swinging bars for Sonic to utilize, but this one at the very end of Section 3 can piss off. I always get the timing off for this bar in particular, so I just use the Super Sonic Dash and just cut over it, because I can do that now. If we want to talk about comebacks, let's talk about Shadow. A faster ground speed, a re-implemented spin dash that works just as well as Sonic's, faster combos, you can do this little hop whenever you throw a Chaos Spear. All of his Chaos abilities actually work. A Chaos Blast that isn't a metaphor for erectile dysfunction. Seriously, look at this. Here's Project 06. And here's the original. Shadow, I think you need to go see a doctor. Honestly, I can't really decide who's more fun to play as now between Sonic and Shadow. They play somewhat identically, but they still have enough differences to make each one unique, and that's how it should be done. If you get all S ranks on Shadow stages, you can nab a new memory shard that lets Shadow discard his inhibitor rings and make himself invincible, and use Chaos Blast without the meter draining. It's a cool reward to get, but I don't find myself using it as often because the meter drains really quickly for Shadow when in this state, and when the meter runs out, he goes into this recovery animation that lasts for quite a bit, so I tend to just stick with Chaos Boost level 3. All of Shadow's vehicles have seen control improvements, and the buggy isn't really used as often as before. In fact, it's just straight up removed for his version of Crisis City. Good. I like speed. I don't know if this was a thing in the original game, but if you're in Chaos Boost while driving one of these around, you'll have infinite ammo just like Shadow the Hedgehog. And the vehicles don't achieve their own sentience like last time either. For Rouge, it feels like they just morphed the SA2 version with the 06 version. She now has access to her drill attack and kicks like SA2, but can still utilize bombs and plant mines on walls, and like Knuckles, she doesn't get stuck on walls anymore. Omega gets his 3-hit combo from Sonic Heroes back, his lock-on system actually works, and if you press triangle, you can go into the Sentry mode to do massive damage to enemies. You can't really spam his hover anymore, but guns. Out of the 3 main characters, I'd say that Silver has gotten the biggest improvements made to his kit. For starters, he has a faster running speed, he can slightly influence where he lands from Psycho Shock, his dash goes longer, they've added a projectile that homes in on enemies, and with 2 other upgrades he can find through the stages, he can extend how far the dash goes, he can curl into a ball to jump on enemies, thank fuck, he can get the Psychic Knife move from Sonic Generations, and with his all S rank upgrade, he gets a maturity meter that when activated, sends out a shockwave that kills enemies around Silver, can stun enemies within Silver's vicinity, and reduces the amount of gauge Silver uses for his moves until the bottom meter runs out. All of these changes combined make Silver my favorite character to speed through levels with. You can take some dumb shortcuts, and it's so fun. His base kit still revolves around picking up and throwing shit, and for some reason it doesn't always hit enemies like I'd want it to, but since Silver has other reliable ways to take down enemies, he doesn't feel as stale or repetitive to use anymore. Blaze plays very much like she did in Retail 06, but she has a re-implemented pounce attack that doesn't really do much. Considering she was the best character in the base game, they didn't really have to change her too much, but the improved control more than helped. Amy is the true MVP for Amigo changes. For starters, her dumbass invisibility ability is gone, and it's been replaced with this hammer spin attack that is great for taking out groups of enemies as long as you don't use it for too long. She has a hammer jump, which at first doesn't seem as impressive as SA1, but in combination with her much better double jump, it's great for staying on the move. She can also use her hammer in the air to bounce off of enemies. Amy is great. It's just a shame you only get to play as her in one actual stage. Speaking of, the stages are largely the same, but much needed improvements have been made. A good majority of the stages now have in-game cutscenes that are really charming. Sonic and Silver walking to the start of Sonic's Kingdom Valley as Silver flies off is so good. And the inverse for Silver's Kingdom Valley also happens, but Sonic walks off screen and instantly teleports to another universe. Like, where the fuck did he go? I love the beginning of Silver's Crisis City picking up right from where the CG cutscene ended, and the animation of Silver before his version of Tropical Jungle is so damn good. This, along with some new animations for characters and gameplay, were animated by user SonicPox on Twitter, and damn it, dude, you did such a good job. Certain segments that were a bit short in the main game have now been extended or tweaked to get some more playtime for certain characters. For example, Rouge's section in Kingdom Valley and her version of Tropical Jungle are now handled like SA1 treasure hunting levels, complete with randomized key locations and a fully functional radar, and not only did Blaze have an extension put on the end of her Wave Ocean, but she also gets to go through the opening loop in Silver's Flame Core. And the ball puzzle Dear God, they did it! They made it work and it's actually kind of fun! I no longer need to break reality in order to preserve my sanity. Graphically speaking, holy shit, the game has a much higher quality color palette, and some levels have had their aesthetics tweaked to invoke a better atmosphere. Silver's Crisis City now takes place at night with a lightning storm in the background, just like the level's original concept art. Shadow's Wave Ocean takes place at dusk while Blazes is set at dawn. These changes may not seem like much, but I believe they go a long way in making the levels feel a bit more unique and distinctive from one another. The moon in White Acropolis even has a chunk taken out of it. Oh man, that's so good. The attention to detail, not the lack of the other half of the giant space rock. Thought I'd clarified. I played the PS3 version of the retail game for original footage for this review, and believe me when I say that in combination with the terrible gameplay, the slowdown legitimately made me sick. Like, I felt like I was going to throw up while playing the game, and I wish I was joking. Thankfully, my PC is able to run Project 06 with max settings pretty well. I've had some slowdown hit every once in a while, but it never lasted more than maybe 1 or 2 seconds, as opposed to the 10 or 20 second sections of slowdown I would encounter if I even looked at Silver's pothead in the wrong way. I don't feel like I need to talk about the music since it's all the same from the base game, and the soundtrack was already great. I will, however, say the Dragon Ball music used in the test levels oddly fits. With everything I've talked about in this video all culminated together, it's hard for me not to view this as a great Sonic game, even if it is just a fan game. This project has given me a much deeper appreciation for the game's level design, and all the character and gameplay tweaks made really allows the player to take full advantage of it. And while I think some things still need improvement on, mainly the character ground speed and accuracy with Silver's throwing needing some changes, those aren't enough to change my perspective. If you were able to play this demo, I urge you to give it a shot and give Chaos X, Sonic Pox, and everyone else who works on this project some love on Twitter. If you're looking to try it out, I'll leave a link to the latest release in the description below. There's a good thing going here, and I can't wait to see what sort of changes come with the final story level and the boss fights in the next update.
And when I said a short break last time, I meant a short break. For the next video, we're finally going to be taking a look at the epilogue to the Zelda Marathon. The whole reason we began on our expedition back in October. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next time when I finally take a look at The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's been a long time coming, so I'm really excited for it. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you all then.